In this video, we have got a 100 kill game on Siege of Cairo Conquest with a PW5A3 SMG, also known as the MP5, where we come top in the game for score. On screen now is the attachments which I was using. As I say in any of my 100 kill game videos at the moment, I am leveling up the guns, so these are not my recommended attachments, but these are simply what I was using in this game, and I'll of course have another video later in the year when I get another 100 kill game with it, where we'll update those attachments. But for this video, we're going to look at the pros and cons of this gun now, to better understand how you want to be using and playing with this gun. And then we'll have a look at Cairo Conquest, how you want to play on this map to be able to do well, and of course to be able to help your team the most in terms of attacking and defending the flags. Okay, so let's start off with the pros of the gun, and I think the first and most important thing to say is that this gun is kind of like the saying, the jack of all trades but the master of none. It's pretty good and above average in almost all different categories, but it's not the master of any of those categories. There are generally going to be other gun options which are better, but as an all-round gun, which isn't a bad thing, this gun is well suited to all different play styles and multiple different ranges. Specifically, in terms of the pros, we have the reload time, which comes in at around 2.2 seconds, which you really cannot go wrong with when you've got around 30 to 40 rounds, of course depending on whatever attachment choice you go with. The gun also comes in with one of the lowest recoils out of any of the SMGs in the game. The UMP, as obviously you probably know it better, is probably the only other SMG with a lower amount of recoil at standard before you put on loads of attachments. And in terms of the rate of fire, it comes in at 771 rounds per minute, therefore it's not the slowest in the SMG class, but it's also not the fastest, with other guns such as the Vector also being a lot faster. And I would go as far as saying that slightly slower rate of fire is actually very beneficial for this gun because it allows it to maintain a bit better accuracy by having less recoil with a slower rate of fire, even though it's actually an above average rate of fire, which makes it the gun very usable at medium range, which you can sort of see I'm doing here, holding a power position on this second floor of this building and that rooftop that's out on the side, being able to look over the center flag and most popular area on the map for people to be. And even though I'm using an SMG, because of the low rate of fire and the low recoil, I'm able to pretty much hold this position as if I'm using an assault rifle. Now there is one final big pro that I'd like to talk about with this gun, but I first want to go over the very few cons of this gun so that I can explain in more detail why that is beneficial. So in terms of the cons, the gun comes in only at around 450 meters a second for its bullet velocity. Now for an SMG, a lot of you might be thinking that's not too big of an issue, but bullet velocity, the faster you can get it, the faster the bullets are going to hit the target, the better the hit registration is going to feel, and the faster your time to kill is going to be because the bullets are hitting the target faster. So that is something you can generally get with an extended barrel or different types of barrels you can put on the gun, and that is something I would recommend to get and put on this gun when you get that upgrade, especially because this is a gun which you can use really well at medium and even long range in tap or burst fire. 1v1s is going to be another sort of talking point in terms of the cons of this gun, because as I said, it's got a slightly slower rate of fire than some of the other SMGs, which are going to have a higher rate of fire and therefore a much faster time to kill. It is a gun, even outgunned against some other faster fire rate assault rifles or even shotguns, whereby you can struggle to win gunfights in close range even if you pretty much don't miss all your bullets. So to combat this, I absolutely would recommend using a suppressor, because the playstyle which you're going to want to use to go for it is all revolved around good positioning, so that you can pretty much avoid getting into gunfights and pick off easy kills by shooting enemies from unexpected angles, therefore before you get into gunfights. And ultimately, having the suppressor will avoid having your red dot on the mini-map, and therefore you're not going to have players running directly to where your red dot is on the map, seeking you out, and directly already aiming, at you, instantly going into a gunfight. So the suppressor allows you to maintain that element of surprise and improves your positioning. Or rather, it certainly helps with your positioning. Now, in terms of the final con, which I want to talk about, and it's not really a con, but you know, when I explain it, it might make a bit more sense, and that is the gun can sometimes be considered too accurate, and so accurate that it actually causes you to have bad accuracy. Now, I'll try and explain this as good as I can, but in short, when you've got a gun where the recoil feels so low, when you're pretty much confidently aimed on a target, and you pull that trigger, you don't really need to use your thumb on the right thumbstick if you're playing on controller to pull down against that recoil and keep your sight on target. When you've got a gun like this, or even like the AK-205 carbine, which has such low recoil, when you're aimed perfectly on target, you're pretty confident in your brain that you're going to get the kill. Now, because of this, you lose that bit of reaction time, whereby if the enemy does make a super fast quick slide or movement out of the way once you start doing damage to them, because your thumb is not already active on the right thumbstick pulling down against that recoil, and you already think you're going to get a kill, it can become very hard to react to the enemy moving quickly. And that, delay in reaction time can be enough time for the enemy to turn, shoot at you, and kill you, or to get to cover and stop you from being able to finish off and get that kill. And ultimately, where I'm going with this is because of that potential slower reaction time, you end up with your 30-round magazine, like I am here, pretty much wasting quite a few bullets, not shooting the target when the target does move, and that lowers how many potential kills on average I'm going to get between each magazine, because once I get that kill, and I've missed a few bullets trying to get that kill when the enemy's moved, then I've got less bullets to go into the next gunfight with. So hopefully that makes sense, but to combat that, while I'm getting used to this gun, and you might not have noticed it, but you can see pretty much above my ammo count there on the bottom right of the screen, I have been, for the majority of this game, using this gun in burst fire mode. I have found using the gun in burst fire mode for the MP5 to be really useful because it provides that very split second between each burst of 3 bullets to readjust my sight onto the target if they do move, and it helps with ammo management, so I'm not wasting as much ammo on the target if they do move. It gives me time to adjust. And also, if you're trying to go for those more medium to long range engagements, that slight delay between bursts actually allows you and helps you in the recoil control, because you're not firing the gun or the sight drops down slightly between bursts, which again helps you to keep your sight on target for those longer distance kills. Over time, as you use this gun a lot more, I think you'll be able to use this confidently in full auto, and burst fire is not something that you'll need, but certainly this is something that has helped me here get to the 100 kills, simply because I've got a low build of the gun, so there's a lot of attachments which I'm missing, which might be able to help me. But overall, if you're starting out with this gun, it's something that you should definitely recommend and utilize for those long range engagements which you might have with this gun. Okay, so we've pretty much got a minute left of this video. I think throughout the course of those pros and cons, I've pretty much already explained how you want to be playing with this gun, at what different ranges, and suppressor in terms of positioning, and trying to avoid gunfights if possible. So very quickly and lastly, what am I doing in general when playing on Siege of Cairo? Like most Battlefield maps, the center of the map on Siege of Cairo, around C flag, is going to be the best power position where you can sort of stick around the outsides of the flag to help defend it, staying up on the second floors of the buildings either side of the flag. It's absolutely vital that you try and stay in the buildings as much as you can, because if you know Battlefield 6 by now, I'm sure you've played it enough, you pretty much can get shot from multiple different angles no matter where you're standing. So standing inside a building, which you can think as a small box with 4 different walls, the majority of the time you're going to have 1 to 2 walls that are covering you from different angles. So that's going to be your best way to stay alive on this map, is sticking in the buildings. But yeah, that's pretty much a quick one. Please smash a like for me, and I will see you on the next one.